I love you.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you're listening to the Shy Kid and everything Chicago sports-related podcast. We are back. We're better than ever, man. I mean, we had an amazing weekend of football. It was absolutely incredible. Every single part of it, every single game, down to the wire. We had so many different games that were so different when you discuss what the magnitude of these games meant for so many different teams. I think one of the bigger things I'm having a hard time contemplating right now is that both Kelce brothers could be potentially retiring at some point at the end of the 2024 season. We saw Jason Kelce go out in a fashion that you wish you didn't see, you know what I mean, from a legend. You know, you would have wished maybe last year was the year. Obviously had a Pro Bowl caliber year this year, so you're not going to take that away from him as it was a complete bust. But if this was the final dance for Jason Kelce, I just want to say congratulations on a phenomenal career, and this is only the beginning of what he's going to be able to accomplish in football, just discussing with podcasts, analytics, and so much more. But with that being said, man, let's get right into it. We got a lot of conversations to talk about. The newest one is Mel Kiper, ESPN analyst and one of the greatest minds when it comes to the NFL draft, is discussing that potentially the Chicago Bears could get the number 8 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft in exchange for Justin Fields. Now, that's obviously to the Atlanta Falcons, who Justin Fields, being from Atlanta, being from Georgia, being the hometown kid, dominated them in the last couple games of this season. They obviously are in need of a quarterback. They don't know what's going on with Desmond Ridder. They have a new head coach coming into the building. It was reported that Bill Belichick was just interviewed and potentially is going to be talked to even more about the job of being the Atlanta Falcons head coach, which is honestly very interesting. I thought Bill was just gonna, ride off into the sunset, and him and Nick Saban were gonna hold hands. But apparently, he's spinning back and he's ready to prove he can win elsewhere, just like Tom. So hey, if that's you, all power to you, brother. I hope he does. It's great storytelling. But with that being said, Justin Fields potentially being traded for the number 8 overall pick. Why this is such an important conversation is because the Bears are already in a situation that historically does not happen quite often. You know, they not only have the number 1 overall pick, but they have the number 9 overall pick. So in this scenario, if Justin Fields were to be worth the number 8 overall pick and the Bears were to make that deal, they hold three top 10 draft picks in the 2024 draft, on top of having other draft assets from the Carolina Panthers going into next year and this year as well. You obviously get Montez Sweat in the second round this year. That's a no-brainer, and that's completely okay with me. You know, we got a Pro Bowler for a second-round pick who's an immediate impact at the pass rushing position. It wasn't going to get any better than that. But with that being said, is Justin Fields potentially at risk of being traded if we can get a top 10 pick for him? You know, the conversation from what I understood, from what we all kind of understood, was he was worth nothing more than a mid-second to third round pick, if at best. So if there is a potential chance of him going for the number 8 overall pick, it's hard to be a Justin Fields fan and say that that's not a great deal. You know, like Justin Fields is going to pair up with Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London and company. And they're going to be, and don't forget Smith, who's an amazing tight end as well. Like, it's gonna be hard to say no to that. It's gonna be hard. Is that the Sheffield Shuffler in my comments? Yo, that's crazy. Chef, what's happening, bro? What's happening? Man, Chef, listen. We're also live right here on all other social medias on the laptop. I promise you, hit me up. I want to do a show with you. I just couldn't do it on here because then people on the other platforms wouldn't be able to hear your responses. But we definitely have to chop something up soon. We definitely have to chop something up soon. If y'all haven't checked out his stuff already, the man is a legend from Chicago, rocking in Philly. He's a good friend of my boy Mike Powers. But with that being said, though, man, like getting back into that and having that real conversation. It's real. It's real. It's a conversation about who's going to be here, who's not. We really have to sit here and have a legitimate conversation about what's going to happen in the near future with the Chicago Bears organization. We saw today Caleb Williams declared for the NFL draft. For anybody who believed that there was a potential chance that he wasn't going to declare until the Chicago Bears traded the pick, I'm sorry. Like, you should have known off rip that was a scam, that was a troll. It wasn't a real account. Over 1.5 million people engaged with that page. I couldn't believe it. It was blasphemy. You know what I mean? It was blasphemy. But with that, man, we understand that Caleb is entering the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr. has entered the draft. Where does that leave the Chicago Bears as of right now, who, when you look at this situation, saying the Bears have number 1, number 8, and number 9, I mean, it's insane because listen, what you could do here, you can get 3 talents in the top 10, or you could even trade 8 and 9 and say, hey, I'm going to 2. I'm going to 3. I'm going to 4. Get another guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways you could spin this. And I'm more in favor of that more than anything. I've been very vocal about it. I want Fields in a Chicago Bears uniform. There's no doubt about it. I grew up watching the kid. I love him. I love everything he's done for not only the Chicago Bears, but for the league as a whole. He makes football more exciting. He's one of those guys. He's him for real. I'm not trying to be a fanboy, but it's just what I've seen watching him from 2015 to now. But with that being said, when you come into a situation where you can have 3 top 10 picks and the chance at the number 1 overall pick from a general manager who is a first-time general manager, has never drafted a quarterback, I guess other than Tyson Bagent, who technically was undrafted. But regardless, you still have that conversation about, do we look at it? And I think realistically, you have to do your due diligence. You have to understand where you're coming from. You have to understand where Ryan Poles would be coming from. You have to understand what's going to potentially happen. We understand that Justin Fields is going to be going into his 4th year. We saw what happened with Chase Young this year. He got traded at the deadline because they didn't want to give it to him. A lot of people are in the comments are talking about bring back Mitch Trubisky. But to that point, I want to kind of bring that in. We drafted a quarterback number 2 overall before, who we were solely high on, a first-time general manager, and Ryan Pace drafted Mitch Trubisky number 2, and it didn't work out. So let's say for sake of argument, the Bears trade Justin Fields for the number 8 overall pick. You have number 1, number 8, and number 9. So you use number 1 presumably on Caleb Williams or Drake May. Say they don't pan out. Now you don't have a quarterback, and the 3 picks that you had turn into 2 again because you whiffed on number 1, numero uno, the most important pick. I mean, how many times? What is the success rate? If anybody has the number, please let me know. I believe the success rate at the number 1 overall pick being a quarterback in the NFL is like less than 40%, isn't it? It's like 50%, 40%. Like, there is a over 50% chance that we fail this. That's just and that's not the Bears. That's anybody who takes the number 1 overall pick. Like, it's that much of a problem. It's insane. It's insane. So, I don't know how you could sit up here today confidently and say that Caleb Williams is the savior of Chicago. Caleb Williams is going to be the guy who helps us win a championship. And, as we watch the Detroit Lions win a playoff game for the first time in over 30 years, as you watch the Minnesota Vikings win a division a year ago and have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and whatever the fuck they end up doing at quarterback. And then you look at Jordan Love, who not only throws 4,000 yards in his first real season, but wins a playoff game. I mean, you have to look at that and say, Is Caleb Williams going to be the guy to change that? Is Justin Fields going to be the guy to change that? We already know 3 years have gone down and Fields hasn't been able to, get us to that point, but also you understand the situation that he's been in. We heard today that the Bears were interviewing Greg Roman, offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens from 2019 to 2022. A lot of people say, oh, well, he had a lot of success with Lamar, but I've heard a lot of Ravens fans that I've actually talked to discuss, hey, listen, the reality is this. Greg does not like to throw the ball. Now, there's two sides of this stone. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, you're not gonna throw the ball a ton. But you also need to, because we've seen Lamar do that in his MVP season. The guy has over 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, something like that, over 3,000 yards passing. But you also look at the other side of it and understand from 2019 on, prior to this year, the wide receiver core, Hollywood Brown, Rashawn Bateman, outside of Mark Andrews, it just really wasn't that great. And neither was the running game outside of Lamar Jackson. So I hear them. They didn't have Flowers. They didn't have OBJ. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have the Dalvin Cooks. Obviously, they haven't had Dalvin Cook all year. That's indifferent. But they haven't had Gus Edwards to the health that they would want him to be. And Mark Andrews is obviously here as well. So there's a lot of conversations we can have, and I think Greg Roman is a great person to interview, without a doubt. That's a great place to start. You also interviewed Shane Woodlock. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, of the Seattle Seahawks. I've heard a lot of positive things about him, but I've also heard that he is the king of screen passes, and we already know how that goes. So it's going to be hard. We continue to have these conversations. We continue to talk about, how we're going to go about this, and it's hard to start that conversation until you get the coaching staff reeled in, until you bring in a real offensive coordinator. Okay, what is his offensive game plan? What is his mindset? What is he traditionally used to running? What is he able to run? What is he capable of running? Because you can't just throw anybody in and give him a Justin Fields. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as simple as that. This isn't a Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers type player to where anybody can pretty much coach him. I mean, you got Matt Nagy as a quarterback's coach in Kansas City. Like, he's not fucking coaching anything. He's not coaching jack. He's just fucking chilling. You know what I mean? And Pat's like, all right, get the fuck away from me. But I think at the end of the day, man, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I really don't know. I think it can go so many different ways. Bear down, brother. But yeah, number 8 overall for Justin Fields is not a bad gig. You know what I mean? It's really not. If you were to sell me on the idea of him getting traded for a 3rd round pick or a mid-second round pick, I'm kind of like on the fence about it. But a number 8 overall pick, 3 top 10 picks, 1, 8, and 9. I mean, it's as much as you want to be a fan of the kid, I'm a fan of the team first. And I think that's what's most important when you're Ryan Poles. As much as you love Justin Fields, what's better for the team? You can get top level of these talents. The number 1 overall quarterback, one of the top 3 pass rushers, and one of the top 3 offensive linemen with those 3 picks. I mean, that's absolutely mind-boggling. Or you could even get Rome out of Washington. You can get one of the top 3 wide receivers as well. Like, you can go so many different ways. But you could also have the same argument of, you already have Justin Fields. Now you get Marvin Harrison Jr., and then you get one of the, top offensive linemen or one of the top pass rushers. So there's definitely, push and pulls with all of this. It's going to be hard, though. It's going to be hard. Like, I want to be honest. If Mel Kiper is correct about what he's saying right now, that the Justin Fields has this kind of value from certain teams, it's going to be very hard to be Ryan Poles come April. It's no secret. So you got to be patient. We understand that he's doing his due diligence right now. We're going to see what happens. We're going to continue to see what happens all the time. But with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already. Daily Bears content, daily Chicago sports content, and of course, just NFL and MLB content as well, going on all the time. But with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys for listening. This is the Shy Kid, and you are listening to an everything Chicago sports related podcast. Until tomorrow morning, we will be back live around 10 a.m. We will be talking Chicago Cubs baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, peace. I love you.